can go ahead.
Yeah, please wait. Darshan, you can start now.
Okay, sir. Trust in yourself, believe that your voice matters, and know that your words are good enough. A very good evening and warm welcome to one and all present here for IEEE Youth International Talk Series Day 3. I am Darshini V, IEEE Student Secretary of Women in Engineering Society and a member of IEEE Photonics Society from the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. On behalf of St. Joseph's Institute of Technology, I am here to volunteer for today's session. First and foremost, I extend my deep gratitude and appreciation to beloved Chairman Dr. Babu Manogran Sir, Managing Director Mrs. B. Jessipriya Ma'am, and Director Mr. Sashekar Sir, and Principal Dr. B. Ravichandran Sir. I also express my gratitude to Professor and Head of Staff and Student Affairs Dr. C. Nyana Kausalya Ma'am and Lab Affairs Dr. G. Rogini Ma'am for their personal efforts and paternal attachment helped us lot. Now, our youth speaker for today is Miss Diana. Diana is a software engineer and a cybersecurity engineer based in Kenya and Africa. Diana is a passionate about data security and creating user awareness in Africa. This year, she has received recognitions in the top 35 under 35 in Kenya, top 50 women in cybersecurity Africa 2020. Cybersecurity Women Barrier Breaker of the Year finalist 2020. Diana is also a cybersecurity researcher who has presented her work in international research conference in Kenya and Germany. Before we start the session, I would like to say few instructions to be followed by the participants. Kindly post your questions and queries in the chat box. There would be a question and answer session at the end of the webinar. The attendance link will be posted at the end of today's webinar. Now, I invite our speaker, Ms. Diana of the day, Diana, to kindly start the session.
Thank you very much, Darshani, for that introduction, and I'm glad to be here. First, I would love to hear from the audience. What are your expectations for this session? This session majorly will be covering gender equality. Yes, I'm a cybersecurity engineer, but today I won't be speaking much about cybersecurity. Today it's about gender. So what are your expectations? You could type them, or you could unmute to say what are your expectations. What comes into your mind when you were invited for this, when the poster went out? What did you expect to learn from this? I just want to hear from you. Anyone? Or I'll ask Darshani, what are your expectations? She's our moderator for the day, so she could also tell us what our expectations are.
Ma'am, I want to know more about that Women in Engineering and Technology, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Then we can go ahead. Thank you for that contribution. So my talk today is about, is the agenda going to be different when we're in 2030, when we're in 2040? Will we still be talking about more women in engineering, or more women in STEM courses, more women in technology, or will we change? Are we the change in that? So yeah, just a brief introduction from about me, and I won't repeat that because Darshani has already introduced me. So I'm gonna go to the next slide. These are statistics that exist within Kenya, India, and also the UK. I used those statistics just to show the general view of women in engineering and technology, and especially engineering discipline. That is what I used most. And this is just to show how in most of the continents, most of the countries, there is an underrepresentation of the women in engineering, even not hitting 25% out of the men that exist. For example, in Kenya, out of 84%, we only have 16%. I mean, out of 100%, only 16% are women. That is inclusive of all engineers, whether graduate engineers, professional engineers, or consulting engineers. That's still the same when it goes to the UK. Only 12.37 are engineers, are women. And also in India, also I saw the same. India seems to be higher because 21.8% ladies seem to be taking more engineering courses compared to the men. And even when I'm also an IEEE member, and when you have conferences here in Africa, you'll still see the output. When you see even the general index, is that women are still less, women are still few than men. So is mathematics or physics for boys? Of course not. Yes, and this is a perspective that is global, according even to research, that most STEM subjects that we select, what the gender biases that we have since we were young are the same. And I'll give my story. When I was young, when I was in primary school, I used to really perform very good in mathematics and very good in science. So here in Kenya, we have the system called the 844 system. So that is like junior school where you're being introduced to all this. And I remember every time my teachers would even call me like the boy in the class, when he or she is classifying the boys in the class, they would classify me as that because I'm passing in mathematics and I'm passing in sciences, but I'm not performing in the humanities. Why? Because most ladies are, it's assumed that you should perform more in the humanities as opposed to performing more in mathematics and science. So it became, I started feeling uncomfortable even reading for maths or even reading for science. But I really had a supportive family who believed that you can perform in that, so please go ahead. And also they gave me a lot of confidence. This is also recognizing not all women will get such confidence to to face such biases, or rather they'll just give up and say that is for boys, or if you're not performing, you'll be told you are not supposed to perform for that. I went to high school, the same thing. I became I was among the top in our class in terms of mathematics and physics. But is it for boys? The reason why I am telling you this, I know most of you are faculty or you are students in the university. The reason why I'm bringing this story is because you are also the change makers that we have. That because those cultural biases exist since we start, and I'm sure this knowledge is not only for you but also for the other, whether it's your brothers, whether it's your sisters, whether it's your neighbors that look up to you. When they see Darshani is studying engineering or she's an engineer, they want to be like you. How will you motivate them? You don't want to be like the society that it is telling girls you cannot pass in mathematics and physics. So for me, that support system is really important, and that this is the reason why I give you my story, and also encouraging you to tell your story to younger girls, to younger women, so that we can close this gender gap. So, and when we combine it with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, I'm going to give you an assignment for that to go and read about the UN's SDGs. We call them the SDGs. We have goal number 9 of the United Nations that says that is about industrial development, and that is where we engineers fall in, because we have to develop this world. Every infrastructure has to pass through. You have to be professional qualified to go around that. And also SDG number 5, sustainable goal number 5, which is gender equality, which is including more women in more spaces. And considering that engineering has less women, and also technology has less women. So this is our task also, to bring more women into the space, bring more equality, create those safe spaces. So what are the problems faced by women engineers and techies? First, we have the gender and cultural bias that already exists. The one that I previously talked about, that is mathematics for boys, is engineering for boys, or how do women who are engineers, how are they reflected in the world or even in the society? It's not like you have to be accepted to be there, but it's that gender bias that even makes a lot of them quit engineering. I've seen ladies quit engineering even in 3rd year or 4th year, because there's a lot of bias that exists. Once you fail, you think it's the end of the world. So, and then someone is there waiting for you to tell you, you know what, women can not perform in this, and then you drop and go to do a humanity course. there is absolutely nothing, there's nothing wrong with humanity courses or finance courses. The point I am trying to bring across is that once, if the situation was like you faced a lot of cultural biases, that's why you went to the humanity courses, that should be discouraged. But if it was a personal choice to go and do the humanity courses, fine. But personal choices a lot again come with a lot of pressure. So I've seen girls drop. I hope no one in this call will, who is studying engineering will drop, and you'll actually go all the way to PhD. You know, we have a doctor in the call, and she can even share about her with us her experience, or even going all the way to having a PhD in engineering. So another thing is the skill set gap. That is a problem faced because what I experienced while getting into the field is that first you're given administrative duties, you know, you're the one to stay in the office, you won't even be doing the design, you're the one to communicate to the other consultants that are involved, or even to communicate to the clients. You're not given the design work that you are trained to do, or even going to the field and doing the work that you're supposed to do. So you'll never gain these skills because they believe there's a bias that women, administrative work, serve coffee, and stay in the office. But again, how to curb this is just know your space and insist that you want to do the field work, what you studied for, because the risk of staying in the office is higher than even going to that field. And that is a problem because even 5 years into your experience, whether I know most of you will transition to the field soon, 5 years, you won't have something to show that you have designed, or something to show that a project that you really executed. And that even becomes harder for you to be recognized as a professional engineer, because staying in the office really does not give you the experience. Also, funding and research is also a major problem in terms of when you want to research for a certain problem that exists, getting the funds or getting even the financial support, or even in terms of the resources, the people who want there, can sometimes be a challenge for women engineers, and that may not help you excel. Also, we have inflexible economic and social structures. This even in terms of the not even the biases that exist. Like you see, once especially in Africa, well, once you deny a lady an entry into class one, or rather into junior school, that means their curve to get in even into the university is kind of shaky, because first they don't have this education or this background to qualify for that. So these inflexible economic and social structures inform that. The second one is things like families. I have seen some of my some women engineers that have had to drop engineering and go and take care of their families, which is their decision. In gender equality, we say, again, a woman can make her own decision. But if you read even the book Leaning by Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook, she says that women actually fought for women to occupy places in the workplace, but they didn't, and also have their own decisions. But they did not imagine that coming to that dropping the workplace and going back home would be a decision women would make. So they are not opposed. We are not opposed to women making such decisions, but these social structures sometimes force us to leave our career. So what are you supposed to do while you are in university right now, and just to position yourself in engineering and in technology as well? Number one, create good, I meant lecturers, not lecture. Create good relationships with your lecturers, your faculty members, and your classmates. Because number one, engineering is very technical, so is tech related courses, whether it's computer science you're studying, whether it's IT, it's very technical. The support you need from your lecturers or your faculty members or your classmates, you may never get it elsewhere. Yes, you might say, let me tell you one thing we say. We even have memes here in Kenya that we say, the Indian on YouTube saves our life. Yeah. So uh, it's always a meme, because most of us go to those tutorials. They are very informative. They solve a lot of problems for us. So again, we find ourselves all going back there. We even have memes around that. So I want to let you know that you're really contributing a lot to the world. But going back to the point is that you may think that you have the tutorials and everything, but having those good relationships with your lecturers helps you excel in your career, because you'll approach them when you have a problem, whether it's on that assignment or even a research proposal that you want to carry out. It becomes easier for you. Number two, engage in extracurricular activities, even outside your area of studies. And even IEEE in itself, it's an extracurricular activity. And I'm so proud of all of you, because it positions you better to learn more about your field, as opposed to everything that you're just learning in class, to network with other people, to keep learning and learning and learning. Because IEEE, I became a member of IEEE when I had cleared my undergraduate, and I still feel I should have joined it while I was in university, because it would have still been useful. So keep at it. And even other extracurricular activities I got involved in were like the Red Cross Society. Those helped in my leadership, and also knowing getting into the communities and knowing what problems they need to be solved. While the Red Cross Society is about community development and not about tech and engineering, but it helps you once you're from a tech background or an engineering background, you get into that space and even see some tech solutions that may exist. For example, in my undergraduate project, what I did was design a blood donation system. We don't have here in Kenya, where if you want a specific blood type, you can just go into that mobile app and dial, and you can even get another person who has the blood type who is willing to donate. So if I'm a willing donor, I'll just put my name on the app. In case there's someone who needs to be donated for blood, they'll just go to the app, click, and also it shows the location. If you're in Central Kenya or if you're in Western Kenya, who is the most easily accessible. And I wouldn't have known that if I wouldn't have involved myself with Kenya Red Cross, because my bubble would have just been in engineering and technology, and I cannot solve the problems for the community. So it's very important, go to other communities, whether it's in climate change. Last year I was really involved with a lot of smart tech and programming for people in the weather industry, writing code for them. So yeah, it's just get yourself in other spaces, because our solutions are not just the basic Excel or just creating an app. You need to know, why are you creating that app? What problem is it going to solve? Are they willing to use it? And this applies and this is how, remember when I said about the problem of women having a skill set gap, this is how you then improve your skills and position yourself as a woman in engineering, or as a student in engineering. Another thing is take up leadership positions. I was so glad yesterday when we were having the trial, and just hearing someone like Dashani saying she's a secretary, like those leadership positions really matter. First, they make you accountable for all your actions. Number two, because you have to be involved in all these activities, you keep learning and learning. Number three, you'll even be more creative. What does my community want? What does IEEE need? What does my association need? So it makes you more accountable. It positions you good places. And even when you get into organizations, you'll even feel yourself like contributing more when you get into the workplace, and not even just staying at a junior positions, because I know most of us aspire to even be more senior engineers in the organizations, or even the country, or even the world at large. The other thing is, please attend conferences, hackathons, trainings, industry visits, and even and if possible, give presentations. Conferences are very important because you get to network, whether it's with fellow students, faculty of other universities, or even government conferences or any other conferences by NGOs. It's very important. Hackathons as well, they test your skill set and everything. Having those trainings is very important. Like for me, I remember I used to go to a lot of Google trainings in the Google developer communities, because sometimes what we are taught in class is never enough. I commend my lecturers. They did a very good job. But sometimes when you get out here as well, you find there's a lot that you may have missed out in class. And yeah, when you even come back to the class and you're speaking about it, you even share with your classmates, or even share with your community, whether it's a IEEE community, you even have content to share with other people, and also upskill yourself. Industry visits the same. If you need to invest to go even to a solar farm, or or yeah, an electric vehicle farm. Please, it's worth the investment. It even makes you know where is your heart at, where is your interest at, what are you best at. Yeah. And if possible, please give presentations. Just don't attend and attend and attend conferences. I remember I got tired of just attending conferences and listening to people while I have a lot of knowledge that I can contribute. And sometimes especially as women, we may feel like you don't have the knowledge to contribute and feel like you are out of the game. But please, you have a lot of knowledge to contribute to the society. So how do you position yourself? Number one is upskilling, what I spoke about, like get out there, know what, attend those trainings, attend those industry visits, do those online courses, especially now that we are during the COVID period. Just don't say, well, I recognize there can be an aspect of mental health, but also try to solve that mental health by doing an online course. Whether you're going to do a foreign language that will position you even for a role in engineering. For example, sometimes when I look at the roles at the United Nations, they need an extra language like French, Spanish, whether even it's something outside your field that you have upskilled, or even it's learning that one programming language that has been stressing you since your first year in campus, and you just think, now that I'm on holiday, let me do it. It's very important to keep upskilling and upskilling. Number two, you have to be assertive. Once you have all these skills, you have to speak about them. You have once you have a solution to a problem, speak with authority. Because I know one thing that we struggled with is that, well, I have that solution, but I don't think that will work. Let me tell you, the men will hear that and they will just say, that cannot work, you know. So speak with a lot of authority. The other thing is have the soft skills that we all need. That is things like communication, presentation skills, organizational skills. And that is why I was encouraging you also to join other communities, whether in your field or outside the field, because this is where you grow the skills. Yeah, identifying the problem is very important. What problem do you want to solve, especially when you will be doing your projects, whether it's your undergraduate projects, your graduate projects, or anywhere. Just that problem first that you need to solve. And for me, I shared my story how I had to realize it because of joining other communities. And then reach out to other people. Reach out to other people and ask them, how are you, like, no, other professionals, not how are you, like, yes, actually it's how are you doing, and how is that feel like. For example, if it's an electrical engineer that you really admire, to be like, reach out to them on LinkedIn, just text them and have a conversation with them. How is this feel like? Do you think I should venture here? Or sometimes we get confused which fields we want to follow, because engineering is very large. If it's electrical engineering, it's very broad. If it's software engineering, at the same time, it's very broad. Do I want to go to programming, cybersecurity? Do I want to go to databases? So reach out to other professionals, know the landscape. Like for me, when I was getting into cybersecurity, I reached out to professionals on LinkedIn and just had conversations with a lot of them. How is this space like? I'm very interested. What would you advise me to be to get into? How do I get into this field? Yeah, and you'll always find willing people who are willing to answer you. Don't fear that someone will ignore your message. If they ignore your message, it's fine. You can still find other people, and don't blame yourself for them ignoring you. You did your effort. Yeah. Yes, and then the other thing is branding yourself, especially on social media. I know we want to use social media for ourselves, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook, very okay. But also ensure that you are branding. What message are you sending out there? Do you want to brand yourself as an electrical engineer? Fine. Do you want to brand yourself as a person who is doing computer science? Okay. Do you want to brand yourself as a person who is a model? Perfectly fine. But what I'm insisting in, especially for women engineers, ensure you brand yourself with how the world wants you to be like. If it's engineering, follow a lot of content around engineering, contribute to other people's posts, and also keep posting about any activities that you're holding, any activities that you attended, any key lessons that you have learned or research you've come across online. Yeah, and I'm sure Sanjana would not have reached out to me if I had not branded myself as a cybersecurity engineer, because that is what I do, that is what I love doing, and I want the world to know that that is what I actually do. So that is why I'm very intentional about also branding myself around that. Yes. So right now it's question and answer time. So I'm gonna yield the floor to Darshani, and she can tell us. She can coordinate this question and answer session. Thank you. Over to you, Darshan. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Darshani?
Yes, ma'am. For a stimulating session. Now, let's move on to question and answer session. Once again, ma'am. Ma'am?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, ma'am. Could you explain women on cybersecurity?
Could I explain?
Women on cybersecurity, ma'am. What is the
Women.
scope? What is the scope on women on cybersecurity?
Okay. So about women in cybersecurity is mostly those women who are practicing cybersecurity in the field, and the scope about cybersecurity. Let me speak about cybersecurity. It's about ethical hacking, and I know we have a lot of hackers here in the world, but what cybersecurity now does is protecting our systems online and all the systems that we may have online. So that is the scope of women in cybersecurity.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And your webinar was very clear, and hence participants did not have much questions, ma'am.
Thank you very much. And yes, thank you for having me. Let's connect on LinkedIn in case you have any questions on gender equality. I'm happy to cover that, and also even cover probably another time a full session on cybersecurity, because today was about gender. Cybersecurity is a bit technical, and I'm happy to cover around that as well. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for the audience.
Thank you, ma'am. Now it's time to express my gratitude to all. On behalf of the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, St. Joseph's Institute of Technology, St. Joseph's Group of Institutions, first and foremost, I thank our guest lecturer, Ms. Diana, for giving us wonderful speech on gender equality in technology and engineering. Thank you, ma'am, for finding time and giving information despite your busy schedule. My sincere thanks to our beloved chairman, Sir Dr. B. Babu Manogran, and our managing director, Mrs. B. Jessipriya ma'am, and our director, Mr. B. Sashekar sir, and our principal, Dr. P. Ravichandran sir, for their support to coordinate this webinar. I also thank our head of department and IEEE chapter advisor, Dr. Sinyana Kausalya ma'am, staff and student affairs, Dr. G. Rogini ma'am, IEEE coordinator, head of lab affairs, for their words of encouragement and guidance. Also, I take this opportunity to thank the entire group of St. Joseph's Institute of Technology, St. Joseph's Group of Institutions for making this event memorable success. Finally, I thank all the students, faculties, research scholars, and from India and other countries for their active participation in this webinar. Once again, a big thanks to Ms. Diana for her presence. By this, we came to end of our Youth International Talk series, and I think by this webinar series, you all gained some information. Finally, I thank God for this successful completion of this series. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diana ma'am, for your nice session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.